At various times of the year, the Addison Police Department may notice particular neighborhoods become hot spots for speeding and other traffic situations. We are at the corner of Lombard and Holtz Avenue with Officer Steve Oskroba to tell us about a particular area that's causing some issues for the police department and something that drivers need to be aware of. Steve, there's a couple of issues that happen to be going on right now. Tell us about the things that are causing the problem right now here in the Lombard Road area.
Yeah, right. So just going a step back, a lot of times we get resident complaints. So this particular stretch of road, we had several phone calls regarding an uptick in what they've noticed as more cars speeding through the area. So particularly of concern is we have a new construction site here being built, which brings increased truck traffic, slower moving vehicles, and workers working on site and within the area on the roadway. Also down the road we have Stone School. That's back in session now for School District 4. So kids are going to be out now. They're going to be walking to school. There's going to be parents dropping off, picking up kids. So we want everybody to be aware of that and to start slowing down through the neighborhood.
And that's a good point because especially for those who may not have kids in school right now, like myself, everything is constantly in flux. I don't know if people who aren't parents realize that kids are going back to school now. Not everyone's remote.
Right, and part of our push is to get out on social media to let people know kids are back in school. Just down the road too, we placed our signboard out to let people know, slow down, school's back in session. So we want to get that message out too. Part of that too is we're going to start increasing our enforcement efforts as well. You know, drivers who aren't slowing down, they face a ticket, they face a fine, and they could lose their driver's license potentially.
Tell me a little bit about the process. Like you said, something like this typically happens when residents start contacting the police department saying, hey, we're noticing something unusual going on. How do you usually approach these things?
Right, so there's a number of ways that residents get a hold of us, telephone calls, through our social media sites. First, we try to get as much information as we can. If residents are noticing certain times, we like to know that information. Certain vehicles, they could give us license plate information. We do send out warning letters, and we have done what we call knock and talks, where we knock on people's doors and address the issue, saying we've noticed people have called and said, you're speeding through the area, please pay more attention. So that's where it first starts. After that, we have our efforts where we could deploy our speed trailer. What that does is it's basically a trailer that has the speed limit sign on it, and I'm sure you've seen it where it flashes your speed as you're going.
Right.
That actually records data, and that gives us data that we can use then and deploy our resources where we need them. So, like I said, if it's happening at a certain time, say it's 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we can make sure we have more officers present during those times.
Is there anything else that drivers, especially in this area, should be watching out for?
Besides what we've talked about with construction and school, obviously it's a residential area. Now during this pandemic that we have going on, more people have been out walking. I know today's an exception to that. It's awfully cold today, so we might not see as many people out, but it still is a residential neighborhood. There's families here, so they need to be aware of that.
For those who aren't in this area, but they notice something in their neighborhoods, how should they go about contacting the police department?
They could call the police department. Non-emergency number is 630-543-3080. If they're not sure, we always encourage people, they can contact 911. They'll get transferred to a dispatcher who will direct them where they need to go.
Steve, thanks so much for being with us. We've been at the corner of Lombard and Holtz Avenue. This is a reminder from the Village of Addison and the Addison Police Department. Please drive safely as kids are back in school. For Addison, I'm Dory Croggy.